What if the secret to unlocking your creativity isn't learning more, but unlearning? So if you think back to when you were a kid, we created without fear or rules. That's where the magic was. But somewhere along the way, we traded that freedom for tutorials, frameworks, and just someone else's version on how it's done. And I think that is killing our creativity. So I first started making music when I was 14 years old. I barely knew how to play guitar, but that did not stop me. And this was 2005. So no YouTube tutorials, no online courses. I learned by the way most kids did, just by experimenting. I'd hit some random chords, hum a melody, and just try to make something that sounded good. No rules, no fear of failure. When I started my first band in high school, Rising Legacy, that's how we wrote music too. We didn't worry about what the best way was. We just played until we created something we loved. Looking back, it wasn't perfect. In fact, some of the sounds we used, like this weird helicopter effect and this wonky uplifter, might make my current self cringe. But you know what? Those choices were ours. They were weird, they were unique, and that's what made them special. And I still have a snippet of it, so you can take a listen. But here's where it all changed. So I stopped making music for nearly a decade. Life got busy, college, work, all that kind of stuff. When I came back to it in 2020, I felt like I'd kind of forgotten how to make music. So I did what a lot of us do. I turned to YouTube tutorials. I watched video after video, how to write a pop song, how to mix vocals, how to use EQ. I even bought courses to level up faster. On the surface, this seems pretty great, right? There's so much knowledge, it's all easily accessible, but I didn't realize that it comes with a cost. The more tutorials that I consumed, the more I started believing that there was this right way to create. And that's the trap that so many of us fall into. We stop experimenting, we stop playing. Instead of twisting knobs to see what happens, we watch videos on how to use compressors. Instead of actually downloading a demo of a synth plugin we want to use, we binge reviews about it. Instead of breaking the mold, we let others tell us what sounds good and what doesn't. And here's the thing, when I think back on how I created as a kid, I realized something important. The magic didn't come from knowing all the right techniques or following some step-by-step guide. It came from the process itself. Trying things, failing, laughing at how bad it sounded, and then stumbling upon something incredible. That kind of creativity isn't just about making good music, it's about unlocking ideas that only you can come up with because they came from your unique perspective, your hands-on experimenting. When we rely too much on tutorials, we're not really creating, we're imitating. We're following someone else's blueprint instead of building our own. And the worst part? We lose trust in ourselves. I know this because it happened to me. The more I relied on tutorials, the more I felt like I needed them. Every time I sat down to create, I think, man, I don't even know where to start. Let me just watch one more tutorial. That'll help. So instead of exploring on my own, I'd reach for another video or another course to fix my non-existent problem. But creativity doesn't work that way. It's not about finding some perfect formula. It's about experimenting, getting messy, and finding joy in the process. When I finally stopped obsessing over doing it right and started playing around again, just like what I did when I was 14, I remembered why I fell in love with making music in the first place. And we need to get back to that. Back to trusting ourselves, back to exploring without fear of failure. It doesn't mean tutorials are bad. They're an amazing tool, and I still use them fairly regularly. But they should complement your creativity, not replace it. If you haven't done so in a while, try giving yourself permission to play. Open your DAW, grab your instrument, and just mess around like you did as a kid. Try weird sounds, break the rules, because if we don't take the time to experiment, we'll end up making music that just sounds like everyone else. And I know that's not what you want, and it's certainly not what I want. I mostly made this video as a reminder for myself, but I hope it resonates with you too, so I hope you enjoy it. Creativity is supposed to be fun. We need to unlearn the right way of making music and just get back to creating like a kid again. We all have something unique to share with the world, but it'll only happen if we let ourselves experiment and play. So go ahead, make something crazy, maybe even a little bit weird, but ultimately it'll be something entirely your own.